I am the Right Reverend Henry Katumba Tamale, the Bishop of West Uganda Diocese, and it's indeed my pleasure and singular honor to introduce to you our next speaker, who is none other than Dr. Sam Mugasi. Since the year 2012, Dr. Sam Mugasi has been the Executive Director of NAADS, the National Agriculture Advisory Services. He has devoted his life to promoting good agricultural practices for the local farmers and developing Uganda's agriculture sector into a strong economic pillar of the country and local communities. He holds a PhD and a master's degree from Makerere University in agriculture economics, and he also holds a second master's degree from the University of Reading in the United Kingdom in agricultural development economics. He serves on the boards for the National Agricultural Research Organization, commonly known as NARO, and the Agrochemicals Board of Uganda. He is married to Parish, and they both have 4 children. He is the grandson of the Church of Uganda's second Archbishop, Archbishop Eric Sabiti. The Church of Uganda is therefore his home, and today he has come home to share with us on the topic of accessing government resources for the church's sustainability. Please join me to welcome Dr. Sam Mugasi.
It is my pleasure today to be addressing the Archbishop's Leadership Summit 2021. And my topic today is accessing government resources. As part of the theme of this summit, which is accelerating sustainability. Now, when you talk about sustainability in the context of the church, I looked around the world and picked an example that I think can give us the true meaning of sustainability in the church. And I looked at the USA, United States of America, where the religious institutions contribute annually about $1.2 trillion to the economy of the USA. This may be way too high. It may be raising the bar for us to imagine, but I think it's a good example for us to understand how the church can be sustainable. This contribution of the church in the US is equivalent to the world's 15th largest economy. Put together, this contribution of the church is greater than the global annual revenue of the world's top 10 technology companies, which include Apple, Amazon, and Google. Now, this is what is interesting. These contributions, which amount to $1.2 trillion, are mainly in 3 categories. Number 1, congregations put together contribute $418 billion. Then you have $303 billion, which comes from religious institutions such as universities, charities, health systems, etc., etc. And if you add all this money, it is coming to $1.2 trillion, which is contributed by faith-based organizations in the US. This is what it means to attain financial stability, or rather, financial sustainability. Now, we are in the pandemic times, the times of COVID-19. What are the lessons? Recently, His Excellency, the President of Uganda, talked about the real economy versus the vulnerable economy in the pandemic times. And I think the church has big lessons to learn from this scenario. If you look at the pandemic now we are in, There are sectors in the economy that have been badly hit. For example, tourism, schools, construction, and manufacturing. But on the other hand, we have sectors in the economy that have continued to thrive, which could be a good lesson for the church. These include agriculture, they include e-commerce, they include food processing and medical supplies. How can we pick a lesson as a church from these sectors of the economy that are doing well? For me, today, I will pick on agriculture. So how do we tap into agriculture as the church? And then this will lead us on how we can access resources from the government. Now, to put this into the global context, the world population currently stands at 7.6 billion. And this population will grow to 9.2 billion by the year 2050. This is both an opportunity but also a challenge. Farmers around the world will have to produce food 60% more than we are producing today to be able to meet the growing food demand by 2050. Africa alone, with a population of 1.3 billion, faces an annual import bill of $40 billion, and this will increase to 110 billion by the year 2050. 110 billion by 2050. That is the money Africa will be using to import food. Yet this is money we should be spending in Africa. And shortly, I will explain why I'm giving these figures. It will be interesting for us to know that Africa has 60% of the arable land of the world, which implies that Africa has the potential to earn 1.8 trillion US dollars from agriculture. I'm trying to make a case for agriculture so that the church can see where it can have an entry point into obtaining financial sustainability. If you come to Uganda, back here at home, Uganda is among the countries with the highest level of arable land, standing at 34%. What this means is that close to 40% of our land in Uganda is arable, can be utilized to produce crops and to look after livestock. Compared to Kenya, Kenya has only 9.8% of their land, which is arable. Tanzania, only 4%. South Africa, only 9.9% of their land is arable. So Uganda has a great potential to be the food basket of this region. Despite Uganda being a small country, we as Uganda contribute greatly to the export commodities at the continental level. For example, Uganda is number 1 as a coffee exporter. Uganda is number 5 cocoa exporter in Africa. Again, Uganda is number 6 banana exporter in Africa. And with maize, we are number 6. And milk, Uganda is number 8. Which shows you the potential Uganda has to be a food basket for the region. So what can the Church of Uganda do to accelerate sustainability through agriculture? Up to now, I was trying to make a case, both at the global level and at the national level, to show that agriculture is the way to go, especially in the times of the pandemic, but also as a sector that has great potential. Uganda, as I have already noted, is greatly endowed. 34% of our land is arable. We have adequate rains. We have good soils. We have a lot of water. Therefore, in terms of geographical potential, in terms of agroecological potential, Uganda is well suited to be a food basket for this region. Therefore, what the church needs to know, or what to do rather, is to identify the agricultural enterprises that we can invest in, especially for the benefit of our farmers. And once we support our farmers to engage in agriculture, we shall improve their household incomes and they will be able to give and support the church. So which opportunities are there for the church in terms of enterprise selection? Depending on the land size, and I know this country now, because of population growth, we are facing a problem of access to land. We are facing the problem of land degradation. But these are some of the commodities that the Church of Uganda can look at. As a church, first of all, because I know the church has a land, some dioceses have huge chunks of land, but also to promote these enterprises at individual level for the churchgoers. These include coffee, they include fruits, bananas, avocado, macadamia, and cashew nut. These are high-value crops that the Church of Uganda can look at in terms of enterprise development for the church itself, but also for the churchgoers, for the farmers out there. Then we have the short-term crops like cassava, like soybean, onions, tomatoes, ginger, and garlic. These are annual short-term crops that are of high value, that we can engage in, that we can urge our believers to engage in, to be able to make some money, earn a living, and live a more prosperous life. If you come to livestock, milk, we have milk, you can produce beef, and here you can also do feedlots. Then we have poultry, where you can go for broilers or layers, and also pig rearing. These are enterprises that have been tested, that are profitable, and we have all the information required that we can share with you on the profitability of each of these enterprises for you to make meaningful decisions. Then we have fish farming. Fish farming is emerging as a high-value enterprise, especially using, you can use ponds or even cages in water bodies. So once again, we have information that can help you to take decisions on how to invest in fish farming, because as you know, fish is one of the major sources of protein for our people. Then lastly, in agriculture, value addition or agro-processing. This is one of the areas the church can think about, because it is a common knowledge that in agriculture, you make better margins as you go high up the value chain. People who add value, people who are involved in agro-processing have better margins, and the church can also take interest in setting up micro, medium, to large scale enterprises in value addition, and they can be able to make some money. Now, I would like to talk about some of the ongoing initiatives between the Church of Uganda and the government of Uganda. And I will start with what we are doing so far under the NAADS Secretariat. We have been having a good relationship with the Church of Uganda over the last 3 years, and we have so far provided the following items, the Church of Uganda, which we think have created a good foundation for the church to expand their agricultural enterprises. We have so far given the Church of Uganda 7 tractors. These have been given out to different dioceses to help in opening up of land and to expand the area under agriculture. We have also supported the dioceses with 132,000 orange seedlings to be able to put up orchards, grow these fruits, and be able to earn an income. We have also given 124,000 mango seedlings to different dioceses, and we have been getting good news that farmers are harvesting mangoes, farmers are harvesting oranges, and they're beginning to earn some income. We have also distributed 182,000 apple seedlings, especially in the mountain districts of Kigezi and areas of Mbale. And the other day, we have been receiving reports, good reports, that farmers are beginning to harvest apples to earn an income. And at the national level, this is import substitution, because Uganda has largely been relying on imported apples, imported oranges. Now that locally we are beginning to produce our own fruits, this is good for the economy, because we are saving the much needed dollars on other important areas of the economy. We have also given out 15,000 layers We have also given out 190 dairy heifers. Again, we are getting reports how some of these beneficiaries are producing milk, selling milk to be able to earn an income. As you may also be aware, recently we signed a memorandum of understanding between the church, between the Inter-Religious Council of Uganda. This was a big achievement because under this MOU, we have so far done the following, which we think are going further to strengthen these institutions to be able to realize financial sustainability. We have so far given out 185 heifers under the IRCU MOU. We have given out 104 breeding bulls to be able to improve the local breeds. We have also given out 1,356 piglets, mainly to women and youth, to be able to start these enterprises to earn an income. In addition, last financial year, we provided a cash disbursement of Uganda shillings 2 billion to the IRCU to be able to support various projects, which include mindset change. The IRCU has been involved in training people, mindset change. They have also used this money to establish on-farm demonstrations as well as procurement of vehicles to help the IRCU in their pastoral work. The other programs that the Church of Uganda can tap into include the following. The first one is the coffee subsector. Under the coffee subsector, we have an agency known as the Uganda Coffee Development Authority. This agency is mainly responsible for promoting coffee growing in Uganda. And we have a good example in the Church of Uganda, where one of the dioceses has worked closely with the Uganda Coffee Development Authority to promote coffee growing for the local people. And this is the South Ankole Diocese, where coffee growing has been identified as an enterprise for income generation, and this we think should be rolled out to other dioceses that are able to grow coffee. The other agency or the other program that the Church of Uganda can benefit from is in animal breeding and improvement of the local breeds. Here we have an agency of government known as the National Animal Genetic Resource Center and Data Bank. This agency is under the Ministry of Agriculture, and it is responsible for improving our local breeds to be able to improve production and productivity of our cattle. And they have a very good program which is called the Community Breeding Program, which we think the Church of Uganda can participate in. What this program entails is that this government agency provides improved breeds either through live animals or through artificial insemination, and in the process they work with the communities to improve the breeds, which then leads to increased production of milk but also increased production of beef. This is a good program which we think the Church of Uganda can take interest in, especially in the cattle corridor where livestock keeping is the major enterprise. And we shall be available to link the Church of Uganda with these government agencies so that the Church of Uganda can explore possible areas of cooperation for the benefit of the individual farmers, but also the church as an institution. The other critical government program that the Church of Uganda can get involved in is a new program called the Parish Development Model. You must have heard of recent the President making pronouncements, but also at the parliamentary level, about this new government program called the Parish Development Program. This new program is intended to take services directly to the people at the parish level, at the grassroots level. It will increase decision making, it will empower the local people, but also make them participate, to allow them to participate in the planning processes. The guidance are available, and we shall share them with the Provincial Secretariat so that they can be shared with all the dioceses. Under this program, the government will avail 100 million to each parish of this country, and this money will be used to finance locally determined programs locally decided on, activities such as both in agriculture but also in other areas like tailoring, like woodwork, like name them. But this is money that will be available at the parish level. 100 million per parish will be availed, and we think this will be a game changer, especially because it will empower the local people to be able to invest in their own enterprises. There are other programs that the Church of Uganda can also participate in. There's a program called Emyoga, which was initiated by the president of this country, and it is financed through the Microfinance Support Center. This is a good program that is being implemented countrywide, and we think the Church of Uganda should sensitize the churchgoers, parishioners, to be able to participate and benefit from this program. The other program is called the Youth Livelihood Program, which is in the Ministry of Gender, Labor, and Social Development. This is also a good program, mainly targeting the youth. Then we have the Uganda Women Empowerment Program. This is also a program in the Ministry of Gender, Labor, and Social Development. It is a program that has registered success countrywide, and again, the Church of Uganda in different parts of the country should pick interest in it. The other program is the Rwenzori Development Program, which is under the Office of the Prime Minister. This is covering mainly the areas of Rwenzori and Luwero, which suffered war many years ago. It is also a program that the Church of Uganda should pick interest in and be able to tap into its benefits. Then there is the Northern Uganda Social Action Fund under the Office of the Prime Minister. This is a World Bank project, but mainly in Northern and Eastern Uganda. It is a program that is reaching the grassroots, and we think the Church of Uganda should make sure that churchgoers are not left out in such programs. And lastly, we have the Social Assistance Grants for Empowerment, the SAGE program, which is mainly for the elderly people. And again, this is a project that we think can be impactful to the livelihoods of the people. Now, how do we get information about all these programs? And I think our advice is that each diocese should reach out to the district authorities, the chief administrative officers, to obtain information on these programs, because each district in this country has one or two, if not all, of these programs. And we think that if you reach out to the district authorities, you should be able to get information and see how church members, churchgoers can benefit from these programs. As I come to the conclusion, I think I've been able to make a case that agriculture has great potential to be a source of accelerating, to be a source of livelihoods for the people, for the churchgoers, who in turn will be able to build strong churches, be able to support the church to grow. This is so especially because over 8% of the believers derive their livelihoods from agriculture. Therefore, I think and strongly believe that if the church prioritizes agriculture, especially through some of the government programs I have mentioned, we should be able to uplift our people. We should be able to strengthen the livelihoods of the churchgoers, who in turn will be able to support the church, enable the church to grow and be financially stable. I thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sam Mugasi, Executive Director of NAADS and grandson to the second Archbishop of the Church of Uganda, Erica Sabiti. We thank you so, so much for this amazing presentation. And we'd like to invite you to join us for a time of question and answer. Now we have received a number of questions and comments in the chat box, as well as through other means. And so let me go to the first question. It is now 12:42. And we'll go until about 12:55 with our questions. So these questions are in no particular order. The first one is, how can we partner with various organizations with our local areas and churches to empower our communities on cocoa, coffee, and others to speed community development?
Dr. Allison, I suggest that you go ahead and ask more questions, and then I request the speaker to record them, write them down, then he can respond to like 2 or 3 questions, if not all, according to the time we have.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. So the question is about partnering with various organizations and the mechanism for doing that. The second question, as the church country approach other provinces, governments, and ours inclusive, to enter into partnership to have big cereal stores so that we are spot on in calamities like COVID-19. The third question, how can the church and church groups, for example, youth and SMEs, access starter capital for value addition enterprises and agro-processing from government funds? And finally, there's a question about the parish development model and what guidelines are available for the public in order to implement that and to also take part in it. And the final question, what 2 things would you advise a local congregation to do that they are ready to participate in the parish development model and ready to access other government programs? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Allison, and all of you who are listening in. It is my great pleasure and honor to be part of this powerful and well-attended conference about leadership. Let me start with the question on the parish development model. Now, as you heard in the presentation, the parish development model is a new thinking, is a paradigm shift in the way resources trickle down to the local people. And as you heard again in my presentation, the guidelines have been issued by the Ministry of Local Government. And indeed, I saw somewhere in the messages, I think Allison shared the guidelines. So the guidelines are clear on who is eligible. Eligibility criteria are well laid out. And the enterprises that can be supported are also well laid out. So I would encourage all dioceses to get a copy of these guidelines and be able to understand, so that you can prepare adequately, you can prepare our people not to miss out in the parish development model. The guidelines are out there, so it's a matter of getting yourself a copy, read them, understand them. Now, should you have any questions, I think my advice is that you approach the district, the chief administrative officer, who should give you additional information on how to participate and be able to benefit from this program. There is also a question on how can we support small and medium enterprises to access startup capital. Now, the response to this question, we have an agency of government called the Microfinance Support Center, which has funds that they disburse to SMEs at favorable interest rates. And again, we can link any diocese with the Microfinance Support Center to be able to get the guidelines, understand the procedures of accessing this money. So the Microfinance Support Center is available to obtain startup capital for any enterprise as long as you have all the required documents. But also, I think SACCOs would be the best. SACCOs would be the best source of income, would be rather the best source of capital for SMEs, because they are down there, they are close to the people, because you can imagine a farmer from Aleptong having traveled to Kampala to negotiate funding from the Microfinance Support Center, yet there's a SACCO next door. So I think we should encourage our small groups, our upcoming entrepreneurs to reach out to the nearest SACCO where they can obtain affordable financing to be able to start their small businesses. But at the government level, the Microfinance Support Center would be able to provide this money on fairly good rates. There was a question on how the church can go into partnerships, for example, to build cereal stores. Yes, I think this would be a very good idea. And I think my advice would be, or my thinking would be, that the church probably could partner with the Grain Council of Uganda. The Grain Council of Uganda is a private sector agency that is responsible for promoting the grain value chain in the country. And again, we can establish this linkage. The church has land, the church can invest on this land to build these stores. So I think the option we have here is to engage with the Grain Council of Uganda and explore opportunities of investing in silos, grain processing, because this is a growing sector that provides great opportunities for the church to invest in, especially in the maize, or rather in the grain growing districts. There was a question also on what kind of partnerships the church can go into to promote cocoa, if I got it well, cocoa and fruits. Was it Alison? Yeah. Yes. So I think, yeah, I think these are good enterprises. Cocoa is gaining prominence in the country as an export cash crop, and the tea and fruits. So I think if there's any diocese out there that would be interested in engaging in any of these value chains, you can approach us. We can link you with the private sector players, exporters, processors of cocoa, processors of tea and fruits, so that you can participate in this value chain. I know some of the districts, for example, in Kigezi, tea growing has taken root. If you go in parts of Busoga, even here in central Uganda and parts of Bunyoro, cocoa growing is taking root as an enterprise. So if you approach us, we can link you with some of the key actors in these value chains, especially the processors and exporters. But on our part as government, we can help you to access inputs. We can help you especially with seedlings for those farmers who are interested in planting these crops. The last question, I think, was two things that the church or any interested groups in the dioceses can do to be able to benefit from some of these programs, especially the parish development model. I think for me, what needs to be done is to get organized, especially in groups. Because agriculture by its nature is better if done in groups, in cooperatives, associations, for you to be able to produce in bulk, market together, and also negotiate for better pricing. So if farmers can get organized in groups, get registered, get together, get organized, you will be able to participate in these programs, make your voice heard, and be able to benefit. Otherwise, going it alone, remaining disorganized and scattered will be a big problem for our farmers to participate and benefit from these programs. And on our part, we have been helping farmers, put them in groups, organize them into associations, cooperatives, to be able to participate in some of these programs. I thank you for listening to me.